Hello students, we are studying biophysical technique called centrifugation in paper 19B of Cell and Molecular Biology, semester 4th of MDS University, Ajmer. In the previous lecture, we studied about the principle of centrifugation. Remember, we studied that a centrifuge is a device that uses centrifugal force to separate various components of a fluid. Today, we will study about centrifugation rotors. I am Dr. Bharti Prakash, Associate Professor, Department of Zoology, SPC, Government College, Ajmer. Every centrifuge contains a spinning vessel. There are many centrifuges depending upon the use. For example, a perforated rotating drum in a laundry that throws off excess water from the clothes. This is also an example of a type of centrifuge. The basic centrifuge components include an electric motor, a shaft, a rotor heads on which the centrifuge head turns, and a motor drive assembly. The centrifuge, the common feature of all the centrifuges is the central motor that spins a rotor containing the samples to be separated. A centrifuge rotor is a rotating unit of the centrifuge which has fixed holes drilled at an angle. The test tubes are placed inside these holes and the rotor spins to aid in the separation of the materials. The centrifuge rotors fall into three categories. What are these three types of rotors? The fixed angle rotor, the vertical tube rotors, and the swinging bucket rotors. Each category of rotor is designed to address the three key factors. What are these key factors? It is the type of centrifugation, speed, and volume range. We take up the first type of rotor, the fixed angle rotor. The fixed angle rotors, these rotors have holes within their body and one can slide the centrifuge tubes within these holes. Since the holes are at angles between 14 degrees to 40 degrees to the vertical, the tubes and the solution within also take the same angle. The fixed angle rotors are usually used for pelleting applications to either pellet particles from a suspension and remove the excess debris or to collect the petal. The rotor cavities range from 0.2 ml to 1 ml. Under the centrifugal field, the particles move radially outwards, travel a short distance before they strike the wall. The particles then slide down the wall and the pellet is formed at the outermost point of the tube. This sliding down makes the sedimentation quicker. This is known as the wall effect. What is a wall effect? The centrifugal force acts on the particle in the outward direction. So, when performing centrifugation in a fixed angle rotor, the particle does not travel in a straight line towards the bottom of the tube. It rather moves outwards within the tube till it hits the walls and then slides down this wall to be pelleted at the bottom. This results in rapid sedimentation of the particles and this is known as the wall effect. The sliding down makes the sedimentation quicker since it has to travel a short distance also. However, there is a severe disadvantage to this, the particles differing highly in their sedimentation characteristics can only be resolved in these motors. The particles which do not differ much in their sedimentation behavior are not resolved. Here we can understand the fixed angle rotors. The figure A here, this shows the cross section of a typical fixed angle rotor. We can see here that the tube is inserted at an angle of 14 to 40 degrees. This is the centrifugal field. The arrow here points at the centrifugal field, and this is the axis of rotation. Okay, so the figure B here, this shows if the centrifuge tube is filled with the gradient and placed in the rotor, no centrifugal force is applied here. Figure C, application of the centrifugal field, that means the centrifugal force is applied here. It leads to the reorientation of the sample and the gradient. We can see that there is a reorientation of the sample here. In figure D, we can see that the sample components separate. We can see here that they are being separated, and the last figure, that is the figure E, shows that the gradient reorients as the motor stops. When the motor stops, the gradient, it reorients. So this is how the fixed angle rotors work. The second is the vertical tube rotors, which are held vertical or parallel to the rotor axis. These rotors too have small holes within their body in which one can slide the centrifuge tubes. However, these holes lie parallel to the rotor shaft and not at an angle as in the fixed angle rotors. As the rotor accelerates and centrifugal field is applied, the solution within the tube reorients through 90 degrees. The particles here have to move a short distance. The sedimentation in these rotors occur across the diameter of the tube. The particles thus have to travel a shorter distance and the sedimentation is quicker. The time of separation is also shorter. The pellet in such rotors will be deposited all along the outer wall of the tube, and this can be a disadvantage as the pellet may fall back into the solution at the end of centrifugation. Even if it does not fall back, it may not be easy to reconstitute the whole pellet, and some loss of yield is inevitable. In this figure, we can understand the vertical tube rotors. The figure A here shows the cross section of a typical vertical tube rotor. We can see here that this is the axis of rotation, this is the centrifugal field, and this is the tube which is held vertical. The figure B here shows the tube filled with the gradient and the sample where no centrifugal force is applied. In the figure C, we can see there is an application of centrifugal field which leads to the reorientation of the gradient and the sample. Figure D here shows the final orientation that the gradient and the sample assume, right, under the centrifugal force. We can see the deposition here, right. Figure E shows the sample components which are being separated. Figure F here shows as the rotor decelerates, the gradient and the sample, they begin to reorient. And in the last figure, that is the figure G, when the rotor stops, the original orientation is regained. And the third type of rotor is the swinging bucket rotors. As against the fixed hole type of rotors we have seen above, these rotors have buckets that swing out to a horizontal position when the rotor accelerates. It is ideal for separating large volume of samples up to 12 liters at low speeds. Even in the swinging bucket rotors, the particles strike the walls of the tube and they slide down, which is the wall effect. These rotors too suffer from wall effects like the swinging bucket rotors. They swing out to the horizontal position when the rotor accelerates. The longer distance of travel may allow the better separation, such as in density gradient centrifugation. But these rotors are used for density gradient centrifugation, and the density gradient can cushion and lessen the wall effects. It is easier to withdraw the supernatant without disturbing the pellets, and they are normally used, as I told you earlier, as the density gradient centrifugation. We can understand the process of centrifugation in swinging bucket rotors in this figure. Figure A here shows the cross section of a typical swinging bucket rotor. Again, this is the axis of rotation, this is the centrifugal field, and this is the tube, the centrifuge tube. The figure B shows the centrifuge tube which is filled with the gradient and sample, and no centrifugal force is applied here. The figure C, as the centrifugal force is applied, the tube swings out and orients at the right angles to the axis of rotation. The figure D shows the sample components which are being separated, and in the figure E we can see when the rotor stops, the bucket reorients to its original position. So this is how the swinging bucket rotor perform. So students, today we studied about the rotors, which are an important component of all the centrifuges. In the next lecture, we will take up the different types of centrifuge. Till then, take care, be safe.